And welcome. Tonight, House of Representatives takes the key drivers of the economy to task on the high cost of living. Finance Minister, CBN Governor and Chairman Federal Inland Revenue Service explain government policies before the House members. The coordinating minister for the economy, Wale Edu, benchmarks the performance of the administration with past government, tells the lawmakers that Nigeria is better off today than it was pre-May 29, 2023. Senate to drill the service chiefs tomorrow on the rising insecurity in the country, 24 hours after travelers coming from the east were kidnapped on their way to Abuja, the capital city. And there is more vigor in tracking on thieves as operators of Tentita Security Services again intercept alleged stolen crude in a vessel at Brass area in Bayelsa State.
And on business news tonight, trade volume in Nigeria's FX market hits $844 million. That's the highest single-day trade in 19 months. CBN governor attributes rise to recent reforms.
On sports news tonight, Super Eagles receive big boost ahead of Wednesday's AFCON semi-final clash against South Africa as Victor Osimhen has been cleared and available for selection.
And from Abuja, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike vows to clamp down on tax evaders. Also indicates that his administration will investigate lawmakers and other residents owing taxes.
And in international news from London, King Charles is resting at home after beginning outpatient cancer treatment, with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak saying he is thankful the illness was caught early.
It appears the message from Nigerians regarding the high cost of living in the country is finally reaching the appropriate quarters. One day after protests broke out in Minna, the Niger State capital, over the high cost of food items in the state, the House of Representatives has called for the immediate intervention of government in reducing the cost of living in the country. The House, through a motion by Honorable Isiaka Ibrahim, asked the federal government to invest in high-impact measures. Meanwhile, the Finance Minister, Mr. Wale Edu, and the CBN Governor appeared before lawmakers today to update them on the results of the ongoing reforms by the government. And National Assembly correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
Members of the House of Representatives are back after the by-elections conducted over the weekend. The pressing issue of the cost of living in the country is raised as a matter of urgent national importance. The House calls for federal investment in impactful measures while appealing to stakeholders in the production chain to be more realistic in price increments on their goods and services. The Ministers of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the CBN Governor and the FIRS Chairman are admitted into the chamber, and the debate is kicked off by the Deputy Speaker.
We're going to start with the FIRS.
One after the other, the invited guests speak on the state of the economy from their various perspectives.
Given this economic condition and with the promise of Mr. President, what we need to do is to re-strategize within to make sure that we bring more people into tax net. So without increasing the tax rate, that will be able to meet the targets. And that is what has led to us restructuring.
The urgency of the matter is not lost on us at the central bank. And I really want to assure you that we're working tirelessly with colleagues from across government, including with the leadership of this House, to bring lasting solutions.
We are not going to take the easy way out. And more than that, the budget provided more money, both on nominal and in real terms, than has ever been provided in the priority sectors.
Where we are as a nation economically is a much, much better place than we were on the 29th of May, 2023. If we look at the finances of the government today, there has been benefit to the Federation account. And likewise, there have been other benefits which have accrued as a result of the changes that have been made.
They respond to questions from lawmakers on improving the economy and its impact on the cost of living, which is generating pockets of protests across the country.
This is a good news, quite frankly. It's good news that there's sufficient enough investor confidence returning back to the market for people to feel comfortable to do that volume of transactions. That's the good news. So I think it's something that we should be pleased about, and it's something that we expect will continue to get better as the reform process continues to gather steam.
Number one road to salvation is getting crude oil exports up. It is God-given. The price is at $80, $77 to $80. You can't get much higher than that. In the days when we had $100 billion of revenue, the oil price wasn't that high, but production was at 2.2 million barrels. You can do the mathematics. In short, our easiest and quickest route to a better living standard for all Nigerians in the short term is raising oil production, oil exports, oil sales, bringing in foreign exchange.
This is the second in the series of sectoral debates organized by the House to address concerns in various sectors of the country. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the president has directed that a food intervention should be provided by the federal government to check the shortage of food in Nigeria. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, stated this at the State House after a meeting of the Presidential Committee on Emergency Food Intervention convened by the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila. Mr. Idris says the government is concerned about what Nigerians are going through and is taking some steps to ensure Nigerians get some relief.
The president has directed that government needs to step in to stem this tide. Government will not fold its arms and see the way Nigerians are suffering in terms of the availability of these food items. Now, some of these will involve unlocking the foods that are available in most of the storage facilities around the country. You know that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture has some food reserve that is going to be made available to Nigerians. Government is also talking to major millers and major commodity traders to also see what is available in their stores, to open it up so that government will provide some intervention, discuss with them, and provide some intervention to make this food available to Nigerians. What government is noticing is that actually there is still food in this country. Some people are taking advantage of the situation, especially because of the high cost, the rise in or the depreciation in the value of our currency. That has led to the cost of these food items also going up.
In the meantime, the president has returned to Abuja after spending almost 2 weeks in France. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's plane touched down at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at about 9 p.m. today. He was received by top government officials, including the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the Chief of Staff to the President, the National Security Advisor, and the Minister of the FCT, among other people. President Tinubu had traveled to France on Wednesday, January the 24th this year, for what the presidency termed a private visit. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress is accusing opposition parties of instigating unsuspecting young people to protest in the streets of some major cities in order to portray the Bola Tinubu-led administration as underperforming. In a statement signed by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Felix Moka, the party claims that the protests in Minna and Kano bear a bold stamp of an orchestrated and coordinated effort by opposition parties to instigate unrest and undermine the efforts of the government. The statement adds that while the party recognizes the rights of citizens to engage in peaceful protest, Nigerians should be vigilant and not lend themselves to attempts by the opposition to promote social strife. He maintained that the president is solidly committed to doing everything in his power to mitigate the pains of critically important reforms crucial to economic recovery. One of the products that Nigerians are grappling with its high cost is cooking gas. But the federal government is now saying it will prioritize the domestication of liquefied petroleum gas, which is expected to lead to a reduction in the price of cooking gas. This was made known by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Gas, Mr. Ekwerikwe Eko, who was speaking at a stakeholders meeting in Abuja, where he explains that the crash in the price of gas is expected to ensure availability and affordability of the product. Meanwhile, key players in that sector are now seeking the payment of a backlog of funds owed them by the government.
The Minister of Petroleum Resources, Gas, is leading other federal government officials to this meeting with key players in the oil and gas sector.
You're most welcome to this event.
Issues of gas pricing, lack of investment in the sector, gas flaring, limited funding, as well as gap in regulation, continue to serve as a setback to the development of the sector. This meeting seeks to identify the gaps and how to address them.
The essence of this gathering is to deliberate on identify problems and provide solutions to them, so as to move forward in our quest for achieving constructive development of the sector.
Nigeria is endowed with huge abundance of gas resources. However, the recent soaring prices of gas have seen the product rise to 1,100 naira per kilogram. These are part of the challenges that government is promising to tackle.
We will prioritize the domestication and penetration of LPG and implement measures to significantly reduce the price of cooking gas for our people, ensuring it becomes more accessible, available, and affordable for our citizens.
After the meeting, some industry players speak on the challenges in the sector.
We have produced this gas, we have sold the gas, and a lot of our members are being owed significant amounts of money. You know, receivables running into over $1 billion that we need that need to be paid.
You have to make sure that this thing is bankable. You want to make sure that the price that you set for this gas is such that it enables the gas to be produced. If you set a price that's too low, people just will not. We also understand that it cannot be too high, so that it enables the ultimate developmental effects in the country.
Decisions reached here are expected to play a key role in setting the gas sector on the path towards economic development. Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, PDP candidate in the March 18, 2023 governorship election in Enugu State, Mr. Ladia Debutu, appears before the State High Court over allegation of vote buying during the poll, gets bail on self-recognizance. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. House of Representatives takes the key drivers of the economy to task on the high cost of living. Finance Minister, CBN Governor, and Chairman Federal Inland Revenue Service explain government policies before the House members. Senate to drill the service chiefs tomorrow on the rising insecurity in the country, 24 hours after travelers coming from the east were kidnapped on their way to Abuja, the capital city. There's more vigor in tracking oil thefts as operators of Tantita Security Services again intercept alleged stolen crude in a vessel at Brass area in Bayelsa State. And King Charles is back home to rest after beginning outpatient cancer treatment, with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak saying he is thankful the illness was caught early. We told you earlier about the return of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu from France after spending 2 weeks there, and he was received by top government officials when his plane touched down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at about 9 p.m. One issue troubling the minds of Nigerians is that of insecurity, and the Senate is set to meet with the service chiefs over the deployment development. But the meeting with the chiefs is coming just weeks after they were summoned to appear before the upper chamber to explain the worsening state of insecurity in the country. And National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
After a short break for parliamentary elections, the Senate begins the first legislative day of the week. Clearly, the state of the nation is uppermost on the agenda, and almost immediately the lawmakers dissolved into an executive session to deliberate on what some described as burning issues.
The Senate, in a closed session, deliberated on matters relevant to the workings of the Senate in particular and the National Assembly in general. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the closed session?
In a separate motion, the Senate observes a minute silence over the passing of a former senator representing Yobe East, Senator Bukar Abba Ibrahim, a former governor of Yobe State, and adopts a resolution to send a 9-man delegation on a condolence visit.
I must point out that the late Senator Bukar Abba Ibrahim, commander of the Order of Niger, was very well known to me. I served with him in one of the Senate sessions, and in the 8th Senate, and was an excellent gentleman, a very jovial gentleman, and it's unfortunate that he has died at a time that his services are still required by the country.
The lawmakers quickly resolved to adjourn plenary to address other cogent economic issues. However, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Banking and Finance postpones its planned interface with the central bank governor to Friday, the 9th of February 2024.
The CBN governor has been held back in the House of Reps, also trying, on the part of the House of Reps, they also are trying to also do some sort of consultation with him regarding the situation of the economy as well. And the reason too, I think I should explain. Tomorrow there is a session with the service chiefs, and of course that might extend to Thursday, because it's also there are issues of very serious concerns to us. So in order to play safe and have enough time to also interact properly with the economic team in this instance, which meaning that we might extend the invitation beyond the governor to also include members of the economic team.
From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
There's a boost in the war against crude oil theft as operatives of Tantita Security Services Limited have again intercepted another vessel at Brass area in Bayelsa State. The vessel, christened Mount Habor Spirit, was intercepted after Tantita security operatives deployed technology to track it down before informing the military and the NSTCDC. Tantita Security Services Limited, owned by former militant leader, Government Ekpempolo alias Chompolo, was contracted by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to protect pipelines from vandalization. Though authorities are yet to brief journalists on the latest seizure, the vessel, with International Maritime Organization number 8226272, is currently anchored at the Tantita facility in Okoroza, Warri Southwest local government area of Delta State.
On this particular day, just about 2 days ago, I think precisely on early hours of Sunday, the detection systems found it loitering around Segana oil field off Bayelsa. And what had happened there was that we swung into action and discovered that it made fast to one of the oil platforms there and was loading crude oil illegally. I'd like to use this opportunity to thank synergy and cooperation which we have had from all the security forces. Chief amongst the support we've got is from the Chief of Defense Staff and the Chief of Naval Staff. We will continue to commend him for that and would like to see more of it.
Let's head to the judiciary now, where the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the March 18th governorship election, Mr. Ladi Adebutu, today appeared before Enugu State High Court, sitting in Abeokuta, the state capital, on allegation of vote buying during the election. He was charged on 7 counts bordering on vote buying and other offences before Justice Abiodun Akinyemi, but pleaded not guilty to all the charges. Mr. Adebutu, alongside 6 other suspects, was accused of criminal inducement during the poll by security agents alongside other members of his party. He was alleged to have ordered through his bank the issuance of 200,000 naira preloaded ATM Verve cards with 10,000 naira and distributed the same on the day of election across the state with criminal intention of inducing the voters. While all the defendants pleaded not guilty to the charges, their lead counsel, Chief Gordy Uche, pleaded with the court to allow the defendants continue to enjoy bail on earlier terms. He then prayed the court to grant the first defendant, Mr. Adebutu, bail on self-recognizance. Justice Akinyemi granted the first defendant's bail in the sum of 1 million naira with a surety in the like sum, who may be a family member or a bondsman. The case was later adjourned till tomorrow, February the 27th, 2024, for hearing. The State High Court in Rivers State, Port Harcourt, has renewed and extended the interim court order restraining the Nigerian police and other security agencies from arresting the Chief of Staff to the Rivers State Governor, Edison Ehie. The order was renewed by the trial judge, Justice Seka Aprioku, following the complaint of Mr. Ehie's lawyer, Damian Okoro, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who informed the judge that despite the court's earlier order, the police had gone ahead to declare Mr. Edison wanted. After listening to the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Justice Aprioku extended the validity of the previous order till the substantive suit is determined. And he also ruled on an application for extension of time by respondent counsel Celestine Dixon, whom he gave 3 days extension to respond to the processes, while the applicant was given 2 days to respond. The judge then adjourned hearing of the substantive suit to February the 15th, 2024. And staying with the judiciary, the Federal High Court in Lagos has struck out 22.8 billion naira fraud charge against the former Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Adeshola Mosu, and 2 other Air Force chiefs. Justice Chukwujeku Aneke set the military officers free while delivering rulings on their separate preliminary objections, challenging the court's jurisdiction to try them for the alleged crime. The court held that Air Marshal Amosu and his co-defendants, Air Vice Marshal Jacob Bola Adigun and Air Commodore Gbadebo Owoduni Olubenga, could not be tried by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission because they were serving military officers at the time the alleged crime was committed. The defendants were first arraigned on June the 29th, 2016 by the EFCC. The EFCC accused them of conspiracy, stealing, money laundering, concealing of crime proceeds, and converting funds belonging to the Nigerian Air Force to their personal use around March the 5th, 2014 in Lagos. They had pleaded not guilty to the charge, delivering his ruling on Tuesday. Justice Aneke held that the prosecution neither admitted nor denied the depositions of the defendants. The court also reached a similar decision for the second and third defendants and accordingly quashed the charges. We have more stories on the news at 10, and Gloria Mezoke is standing by in our Abuja studios to give us more. Hello, Gloria.
Certainly, Anne, many thanks. Here in the nation's capital, it may no longer be business as usual for lawmakers residing in the Federal Capital Territory and who have not been paying tax to the government. This is because the Minister of FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has vowed that his administration will investigate lawmakers and other residents of the FCT who are owing taxes to the government. Mr. Wike stated this during the flag-off of the resurfacing of existing roads and remedial works on bridges in Maitama, Gariki, Utako, and Jabi districts in Abuja.
What we are doing now is not within the area council. They have the big money place. But when they tell them to pay tax now, they are happy. The world is being success. Ask them, where would the money come from if not tax? When we started to see I can get more tax and more revenue, there's nothing they don't do to fight me, but I'm not worried. I will not shake. I will do what is right. So we don't expect to have the growth without paying tax. So all of you, the chairman of the FCT, who said he's a resident in Maitama, 10 years, colleagues here, Operation Tax. I will use you, my friend, as a point of contact. Tell them to pay their tax. So we can pay the contractors on time, and then we have good local roads.
If you ever wondered whether there is a relationship between corruption and acts of terrorism and other organized crimes, then you may take an interest in this. The Executive Director of the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Integrity Watch, Mr. Umar Yakubu, says corruption in public places has a strong correlation with the rising cases of organized crimes in Nigeria. He stated this at a meeting with heads of anti-graft agencies and civil society organizations in Abuja, where the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the Nigerian Bar Association called for effective collaboration to combat corruption in the country.
You're most welcome to this event.
This meeting with heads and representatives of the anti-graft agencies and members of the civil society organizations in Abuja is at the instance of the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Integrity Watch for the implementation of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Nigeria signed the UN Convention Against Corruption in 2003 and ratified the document in 2004. Discussions on how Nigeria can fast-track the implementation forms the crux of this roundtable.
We at ICPC believe today's monitoring mechanism embodies our shared commitment to oversight, evaluation, and participation. It will serve as a compass guiding our efforts to eradicate the scourge of corruption that has hindered our national progress.
The representative of the president of the Nigeria Bar Association agrees with the ICPC chairman and calls for stronger collaboration with lawyers to combat corruption in Nigeria.
We are all stakeholders in this project. We should cooperate with these agencies in order to ensure that corruption is reduced to the barest minimum. And I want to say it, and that is the view of the Nigeria Bar Association, that we need to cooperate with the stakeholders, especially the FCC and the ICPC in fighting corruption.
In his remarks, the Executive Secretary of the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Integrity Watch underscores the correlation between corruption in the fiscal space and organized crimes in Nigeria.
The nexus between corruption and organized crime. Right now we're battling with human trafficking, drug trafficking, arms trafficking, cybercrime, terrorism. I'm lumping up the kidnapping and all those things as terrorism. All of them, trafficking in endangered species, maritime crimes, environmental crimes, then the grand corruption element, the financial crimes. All this is interrelated. Why I'm saying this is that if we do not combat the corruption, all those other things will continue to rise because they are all interlinked, unfortunately, for a developing economy like Nigeria.
Corruption in public office is a major challenge that successive governments continue to combat. And the consensus at this meeting is that there's a strong need for citizens and government collaboration to win the fight against corruption.
We're still ahead on the news at 10. Trade volume in Nigeria's FX market hits $844 million, the highest single-day trade in 19 months. CBN governor attributes the rise to recent reforms. Good join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. Governor Alex Otti of Abia State has been making clarifications on claims that the state government had voted 1.5 billion naira to purchase 2 units of Hilux vehicles in its 2024 budget. The governor denied the allegation and ascribed the controversial figure to software glitch from the Excel package used in preparing the budget, adding that the error has since been corrected. He was speaking at the Enugu Road Market in Abia, where he had visited to sympathize with some traders who had lost their goods in a fire incident that occurred in the market on Monday night. He said the government would provide relief materials for the victims.
We are going to come back here again, check the integrity of these buildings. Some of them look very, very old, and where they need to be pulled down, we'll pull them down and rebuild them. Where they need retrofitting, we retrofit them, because this is where people operate from. This is their daily livelihood, so we can't ignore them. Suffice it to say that anything that comes from government must be correct. So I believe that that was an error, of the head and not of the brain, and it has been corrected. But going forward, we think that, first of all, I must thank the people who pointed it out. It means that people are vigilant, people are checking, and I encourage people to check, hold governments to account. I don't think there's anything to worry about. The overall numbers are correct, and the figure of 1.5 billion was actually 150 million. 2 units of Hilux trucks at 75 million naira each will give you 150 million naira. That has been corrected.
To education matters in Taraba State, where Governor Abu Kafes has flagged off the Taraba Education Student Identification System, otherwise known as TESIS. According to the governor, the data capturing platform represents a major step in the state government's drive towards providing quality primary and secondary education in the state.
On assuming office in May last year, the Taraba State Governor, Abu Kafes, made free education at the primary and secondary school level a top priority of his administration. As part of the governor's plans to revamp the education sector in the state, he's here to flag off the Taraba State Education Student Identification System, or TESIS for short.
Please, can you give a rousing round of applause again to His Excellency, please?
According to the State Commissioner for Education, the project is aimed at providing the government with precise data to be used in allocation of resources in the education sector.
The digital enrollment of our pupils and students is to enable the government ascertain a near-accurate data that will be used in planning and allocation of resources within the education sector. Taraba State will be among the only 3 states of the Federation that has fully complied to e-education initiatives.
The consultant in charge of the Students' Identification System says the project will enable the government to push forward in its quest to improve the education sector.
The Taraba State Identification Student System platform will play a critical role in the government's commitment to increase access to quality education and breaking down barriers that have hindered the potential of many bright minds in our society. By leveraging technology, we are creating a pathway for a more educated and empowered citizenry and paving the way for a brighter future for this great state.
For Governor Kefes, the initiative is a testament to his administration's commitment to providing quality and affordable education to pupils and students in the state.
Today marks a significant milestone in the history of Taraba State as we embark on the education enrollment program a bold step towards providing free education for school students and involving teachers in our great state. With our unwavering commitment to the betterment of our society, we have programmed this initiative to ensure that every child in Taraba State has access to quality education.
The governor then proceeds to symbolically register students on the identification system platform.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's back now to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks a lot, Gloria. And staying with education matters, the management of Michael Okara University of Agriculture has shut down the school and suspended all academic activities after the students protested a hike in school fees today. Security has also been beefed up there to forestall any breakdown of law and order. The protest led to the burning of part of the administrative block and damage to other buildings there. Scores of students of the university were seen leaving the campus in groups this evening. One of the final year students told Channels Television that the developments disrupted the first semester examination, which started on Monday this week. Meanwhile, in Plateau State, the government has dissolved the governing council of the State University in Bokos with immediate effect, removing the heads of other tertiary institutions in the state. The tertiary institutions affected are the Plateau State University, Bokos, Plateau State Polytechnic, Barkin Ladi, College of Education, Gidiri, College of Health Technology, Zawan, and College of Health Technology, Panchkin. While Governor Caleb Mutwang has also approved the cancellation of recruitments earlier conducted by the tertiary institutions in October 2022 and early in 2023, while applications for an all-inclusive recruitment for all tertiary institutions will be advertised. Away from education now, the Nigeria Immigration Service, NIS, says a total of 2,141,300 passports were issued in the year 2023. This was disclosed by the NIS Comptroller General, Mrs. Caroline Adepoju, during the Diaspora Virtual Lecture Series with the theme New Passport Policy Processes for Nigerians in the Diaspora Confirmation, which was organized by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM. She spoke on the automation of the passport process to reduce human interface with the immigration officers, saying that this has become a game changer for passport applicants. The Minister of Interior, Dr. Lubumi Tunjiojo, who joined the event virtually, reiterated the resolve of the federal government to ensure that Nigerians in diaspora no longer go through pains just to acquire their passports, while the chairman and CEO of NIDCOM, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, commended the minister and the Immigration Service for this feat. There is a common notion that industrialization is crucial for innovation and economic development, which of course should lead to improved standards of living for citizens. But the Bank of Industry and International Financial Corporation have held their combined conference on empowering futures. The conference, which was held in Lagos, had in attendance officials of both organizations as well as economists who shared their thoughts on access to funding and the risking in funding options.
It's a story of collaboration between the Bank of Industry, the BOI, and the International Finance Corporation, the IFC. The story has its focus on industrialization as a key pillar of economic diversification. This and more are captured in the sessions.
We aim to cover 3 key sessions today. Session 1 focuses on industrialization as a pathway for economic diversification. The second session focuses on increasing access to funding through risk mitigation. A third session focuses on unlocking sustainable funding for industrialization.
But before the sessions begin, the Regional Vice President of IFC for Africa, Mr. Sergio Pimenta, sets the tone with his keynote address. The content of his address is the findings of the new IFC report on Nigeria's credit infrastructure reform.
This report found that the Credit Reporting Act and the National Collateral Registry have increased access to finance for borrowers. According to the 30 financial institutions surveyed for this report, the number of borrowers accessing formal loans increased significantly in the years from the most recent credit reforms up until 2020.
Then the panelists take over. The first session had the theme Industrialization as a pathway for economic diversification.
We are quite behind when it comes to industrialization and particularly manufacturing. This has a significant impact on the healthcare sector. We are a sector that is extremely import dependent.
The first element which you mentioned is policy, very clear and directional, intentional as well. What exactly do we want to achieve? Are we trying to build an industrial sector, like you remarked earlier on, focused on import substitution?
The second session is on increasing access to funding through risk mitigation.
What we also do with the partial risk guarantees and corporate guarantees or credit risk guarantees. So we also work with that also as a way of mitigating this risk.
Some of the options shared for funding sustainable industrialization at the end of the conversations include private capital funding as well as green funding.
And Nigeria's economy, Ladi Williams is here to give us more on business news.
Thanks, Anne. In business news, trade volume in Nigeria's foreign exchange market jumped to $844 million on February 3rd, which represents the highest dollar trade since June 2nd, 2022. This was mentioned by the central bank governor, Olaimi Cardoso, during an appearance before the House of Representatives today, reflecting an increase in dollar liquidity within the country's currency market. The central bank governor attributed the increase in FX trade volume to recent reforms carried out, which include urging Nigerians residing abroad to repatriate their funds through official channels and clearing the backlog of forex obligations, and plans to establish a singular foreign currency gateway bank. To food insecurity issues now, the World Bank projects that 7 states across the northwest and northeast Nigeria will be at a crisis food security level in 2024 due to insecurity and armed conflicts, reducing the standards of living across the region. According to International Financial Institutions' latest food security report, Borno, Adamawa, Kaduna, Katsina, Yobe, Sokoto, and Zamfara states are projected to remain food insecure until May 2024. The report also noted that over 63.2% of low-income countries experience inflation levels surpassing 5%, marking a 1.3% point increase compared to the previous food update on January 17, 2023. It can be recalled in October, the Food and Agriculture Organization warned that around 5 million Nigerians at risk of hunger in 2024. And Google Trends data indicates that USDT, the most popular stablecoin globally, is gaining adoption in Nigeria, as a 12-month spectrum analysis shows Nigeria topped Africa for interest in the stablecoin. Nigeria ranked 4th after Sri Lanka, Laos, and Cambodia. Analysts say Nigerians may have turned to stablecoins due to several factors, including inflation, sharp decline in the value of Naira, and the urge for cross-border transactions. Stablecoins are a class of cryptocurrencies that are usually backed by conventional assets like US dollars and gold. Examples of stablecoins are USDT, USD Coin, and Binance USD. Sound of the closing gong at a local bourse after today's trade. Present at today's ceremony was the Senate Committee on Capital Markets, the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Lando Yuguda, among others. According to Senator Osita Ezunaso, Chairman, Capital Market Committee on Capital Market, the lawmakers will be revisiting bills important for the growth of the capital market. And Nigeria's stock market, just like yesterday, investors took more profit off the table with a deeper drop for the NGX All-Share Index of 1.5%. Willie Bong has the details.
Thanks, Laddie. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Investors are really going for the deep
end year. Today is another pullback, and it's a big one. The all-share index tumbled by 1.5%, shaving a whopping 849 billion naira off the market cap. Investors are either reshuffling their portfolio or taking profit to settle expenses, and we all know the big one in January: school fees. Now let's take a look at the market drivers. The banking stocks, especially the highly capitalized tier 1 banks, are all in the red. But Boa Cement led today's great fall with a 10% drop. It lost 18 naira 50 kobo to close at 166 naira 50 kobo. And not even the gain today in MTN Nigeria could have set that huge dip. Wema Bank also on that top 3 list of losers with a 9.91% loss. Cadbury, maintaining its position for the second straight day, is still moving up the equities ladder. No recovery today for the market, unfortunately, but there's definitely a good entry opportunity for investors and traders. And that's the stock market report for today. Will Ibang signing out.
All right, that's it on business. Back to Anne with the rest of news at 10.
Thanks a lot, Ladi. And around the world in 5, we'll bring you stories from King Charles III, now resting at home and seen in the public after the diagnosis of his cancer, who started the cancer treatment. We'll bring you more in Around the World in 5. Here's Simon Pusey.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. King Charles is resting at home after beginning outpatient cancer treatment, with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak saying he is thankful the illness was caught early. It's after Buckingham Palace announced the cancer was found during the King's recent treatment for a benign enlarged prostate. But the Palace have not said what type of cancer the King has been diagnosed with. This was him in Sandringham on Sunday, looking fit and healthy, not long after he left Norfolk for London to begin his cancer treatment. In a statement, the Palace said the King is grateful to his medical team for their swift intervention, which was made possible thanks to his recent hospital procedure. He remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. His Majesty has chosen to share his diagnosis to prevent speculation and in the hope it may assist public understanding for all those around the world who are affected by cancer. The monarch has postponed public duties but will undertake state duties and continue to meet the Prime Minister weekly. Prince Harry is travelling to the UK from California to see his father.
We should really be careful not to overload him, because he started off very enthusiastic, firing on all cylinders, wanting really to change the ecology, change the youth, change this. So he had a real full menu. But right now he's got to delete everything and make sure that he takes care of himself. He's still very alive, he's very aware, he's very conscious. So any decisions going to be made in his name, he should be aware of it. And in most cases he wants to do it.
Well, reaction has been pouring in from around the world. The Prime Minister Rishi Sunak tweeted wishing His Majesty a full and speedy recovery. Mr. Sunak wrote in a post, "I have no doubt he'll be back to full strength in no time, and I know the whole country will be wishing him well." While the Leader of the Opposition posted, "On behalf of the Labour Party, I wish His Majesty all the very best for his recovery. We look forward to seeing him back to swift, full health." Emmanuel Macron wrote, wishing His Majesty King Charles III a speedy recovery. Our thoughts are with the British people. While Justin Trudeau said, like Canadians across the country and people around the world, I'm thinking of His Majesty King Charles III as he undergoes treatment for cancer. We're sending him our very best wishes and hoping for a fast and full recovery. And the US President also had these words when asked about the news.
Mr. President, do you have a message for King Charles? A message for King Charles?
I'm concerned about him. Just heard his diagnosis, but I'll be talking to him, God willing.
In other news, farmers in Spain have joined their European counterparts in staging protests across the country. Like their European counterparts, they demand more flexibility from the European Union, tighter controls on the produce of non-EU countries, and more help from their government. In several regions, they blocked roads and caused severe disruption to motorists. A large demonstration in central Madrid is planned for later this month. Hundreds of people are missing as wildfires continue to raze homes in Chile's Valparaiso region. More than 120 people have been killed in the fires, which have burned down thousands of homes. President Gabriel Boric said the blaze was the worst catastrophe to hit the country since the earthquake of 27th of February 2010, in which more than 500 people died. At least 3 people have been killed by falling trees as a powerful storm drenches California, bringing flooding, mudslides and power outages. Fire officials have responded to over 130 flooding incidents and conducted several rescues since the deluge began. Forecasters say heavy rain with life-threatening flash flooding will continue. The record-breaking rainfall has led the governor to declare a state of emergency in 8 counties. And riot police have fired tear gas at crowds in Senegal, protesting against plans to postpone the 25th of February presidential election. The delay is a first for Senegal, a country often viewed as a bastion of democracy in Western Africa, and will see President Macky Sall remain in power until December this year. Opposition lawmakers attempted to stop the bill from passing Parliament on Monday. Some were forcibly removed from the chamber by police. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. In the world of sports, 3-time champions Nigeria and 1996 champions South Africa face off in the semi-final of the Africa Cup of Nations at the Peace Stadium in Bouake on Wednesday. The clash has been tagged as the more potentially explosive of the 2 semi-finals, given the pedigree, rivalry and ambition of the 2 teams. And that's the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Bafana of South Africa.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria are in Bouake ahead of the Africa Cup of Nations semi-final against South Africa. The Super Eagles appear the strongest team left at the competition, but they say focus is the watchword for the next encounter.
We show until now a good spirit, we show until now a good organization, we show until now a good demand, commitment, sacrifice. We play like a team together. Now we have a tough match against a good national team. And we want to beat South Africa for reach the final, because it's our goal.
Veteran coach Hugo Bruce might not have had a convincing run in charge of South Africa before the tournament, but the 71-year-old Belgian is proving fans back home wrong.
There were many people in South Africa that didn't believe in that team. But we believed in it. The players believed in the fact that it could happen. And it happened. And I think this is a very, very good thing for South African football.
Football enthusiasts expect a tough encounter between both sides at the Peace Stadium.
When it comes to these kind of games, nobody's a favorite, because it's a semi-final, it's a one-off game, And I know we always say that we were getting the better of South Africa, but I also remember when they got the better of us here in New York. But I think what I would look at, I wouldn't look at this in Nigeria against South Africa. I would just look at the way that we've actually been playing in the tournament, and we've had a very solid tournament. And I just feel that this is our year to come through and win the game.
You can't underrate South Africa, because it's not easy for a team to play group stages, to play second round, to play quarter-final, and be in semi-final. Look at the game against Cape Verde. Their goalkeeper, he saved 4 penalties after the shootout, and it shows that they have a game plan, and I believe they can do something. But Nigeria, traditionally Nigeria is far better than South Africa.
Africa tomorrow in December.
As Nigeria chase a 4th title, head coach Jose Peseiro knows finding a clinical edge could be decisive. A victory over South Africa will bring them closer to the silverware.
And some cherry news from the camp of the Super Eagles is reigning player of the year in the continent. Victor Osimhen has arrived in Bouaké, Cote d'Ivoire's second city that will host Wednesday's Cup of Nations semi-final between Nigeria and South Africa. The team medics performed their final test and took the decision that he's available for the encounter after the striker arrived at the purpose-built games. And that's the wrap on sports. I'm Kelly. It's back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. The House of Representatives today took the key drivers of the nation's economy to task on the high cost of living. Finance Minister, CBN Governor and Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service explained the government policies before the House members. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. Have a great night.